Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into a relationship guide that's, well, pretty intense, very assertive, very focused on power.
Yeah, it's definitely got an edge.
The whole mission here seems to be about, like, emotional mastery and strategic conquest. It's not just about attracting someone. It promises to make your partner intensely desire you, almost obsessively.
Oh, absolutely. The promises are huge. We're talking claims that your partner will feel intense desire, even guilt and regret if they lose you,
Guilt and regret. Wow.
and that they'll forget any other woman instantly, and even send messages like, and this is a direct quote, "I want to spend the rest of my life by your side."
That's quite the guarantee to
Yeah.
attach to a strategy guide. Like it's a foolproof formula.
Exactly. It implies total predictability if you just follow the steps.
Okay, but before we even get into the how-tos, the guide starts with the diagnosis. Like, what's wrong with modern dating? Specifically, it tackles ghosting. Why do people just disappear?
Right. And the explanation it offers is pretty cynical, but consistent within its own logic. It basically argues men often lie
Right.
strategically, to conquer,
Conquer, meaning...
often meaning sex,
Yeah.
by saying exactly what they think a woman wants to hear,
Yeah.
mirroring her desires.
So they get good at knowing the script for short-term game, and then poof, gone. Why not
Yeah.
just break up?
Well, according to the source, it boils down to avoidance, cowardice, really.
Yeah.
They can't handle the confrontation, the emotions, the tears.
Or what the source calls DR.
Yeah, discussions about the relationship, anything heavy. So ghosting feels like the easiest way out for them. They feel like suffocated by having to explain or deal with the fallout.
So if you listening find yourself in that situation,
Yeah,
what's the guide's advice? How do you maintain control?
it's really blunt. Maintain your dignity, period. Don't chase, don't call, don't text, don't demand answers.
Or humiliate yourself.
Exactly. The source insists his disappearing act is the explanation. He's shown you his value or lack thereof. Recognize your own value, hold your head high, and just move on immediately.
That's harsh, but okay. It definitely sets a tone. And it leads kind of naturally into the guide's thoughts on why relationships, even marriages, seem less permanent now compared to, say, our grandparents' generation.
Yeah, it draws a really stark contrast. Think about those 50-year marriages. The guide argues many weren't purely about love or choice.
More about obligation.
Often, yeah. Arrangements or just intense social pressure. The fear of being labeled an old maid. That social stigma kept things locked in place.
Whereas today, we mostly marry for love, right? For choice, personal fulfillment. Shouldn't that make relationships stronger?
You'd think so. But the guide argues that freedom brings this great responsibility that we're kind of failing at. The big problem, expectation overload.
Ah, right. We expect our partner to be everything.
Everything. Best friend, amazing lover, status symbol, financial contributor, therapist, perfect co-parent, all rolled into one.
Yeah.
And the second they fail on one front.
Disposable.
Exactly. The relationship becomes disposable. If it breaks, the modern mindset, according to this, is just on to the next. A huge shift from when divorce was so taboo.
That's a pretty bleak picture of modern love. This search for an impossible perfect partner. Which I guess sets up the guide's core strategy. Seduction as knowledge. If relationships are disposable, you need to become indispensable. How?
And it's not about the external stuff, not the fancy clothes, the makeup, the money. The secret the source claims is knowledge
Yeah.
or know-how. It's all about internal investment.
And they use Marilyn Monroe as the big example, right?
Yeah, it's a fascinating take. They argue her power over men, and we're talking huge names, celebrities, politicians, artists, wasn't just her looks or sex appeal.
It was her mind.
Her intelligence, yeah.
Oh.
Her ability to strategically handle the industry, manipulate public perception. She used that image, but it was backed by smarts. That was her real power, according to this.
Okay, so how does the average person listening cultivate that kind of internal power, that attractiveness?
By actively investing in knowledge, taking courses, traveling, reading challenging books, trying new things, building what the guide calls an ample and solid worldview.
Yeah, well-being.
To become different, to move beyond being common life, common thoughts, common actions, to appeal to the male subconscious as someone unique, interesting.
It's really interesting that it specifically downplays financial status for women.
Yeah, that's a key point. It argues men aren't really wired, psychologically or evolutionarily, to care about a woman's salary or her car. What attracts them is differentiation, being perceived as different, as having substance. You don't just happen to be attractive. You become attractive through effort, knowledge, that inner power.
Okay, so building that inner strength, that internal power, That leads us to emotional mastery. You build this diamond self, but then you have to protect it. And the guide's view on security is, well, it's a bit paradoxical.
It really is. It looks at where our everyday anxiety comes from. And it argues that insecurity stems from trying to control things we fundamentally can't control.
Like life itself, health, relationships, money.
Exactly. All inherently insecure. We exhaust ourselves chasing this illusion of control, of permanence.
So the path to real security is
Letting go. It sounds cliche, maybe, but it's about radically accepting that nothing is secure. Truly internalizing that. Once you accept that everything is temporary, the anxiety has less power. If partner leaves, you don't fall apart because you know they are the one losing the diamond, not the other way around.
that relentless need for control and external validation. The guide connects that to something it calls the inferiority complex. What are the signs? How would someone recognize that in themselves?
Yeah, it lists several key symptoms. Things like constantly comparing yourself to others, always needing approval, needing those little attention crumbs.
Okay.
Then there's ostentation, showing off possessions or your body just for validation, being super sensitive to criticism, and getting paralyzed by worrying about what other people think.
And crucially, the guide says this isn't something you're born with. It's learned.
That's vital. It comes from things like parents comparing siblings or just the competitive nature of society or bad past relationships.
Yeah.
And because it's learned.
It can be unlearned.
Exactly. The antidote involves a few steps. Really letting go of past baggage, actively choosing to forgive people, even if you don't feel it yet, and focusing only on your good qualities. The idea is what you focus on grows.
And there's a self-affirmation piece, too.
Yeah, like a daily mirror exercise, looking at yourself and saying something like, I see you, I love you, I want to love you more today than yesterday, really reinforcing that self-worth internally.
Okay, so this inner work releasing control, tackling the inferiority complex, that's like stage one, building the weapon, polishing the diamond. But then the guide takes a sharp turn, doesn't it? It hands you this very strategic, almost ruthless toolkit for, well, conquest.
It really pivots hard. This is where the paradox you mentioned really kicks in.
We go straight into the scarcity mindset.
Right. The instruction is basically view every potential partner as substitutable. You need to see yourself as the sun or the diamond. Men are just satellites orbiting you.
And the goal is to make him feel like he might lose you.
Precisely. Create that sensation of loss, that feeling of scarcity. Because, the source argues, the male ego just isn't programmed to value what feels guaranteed. It's the opposite of being needy or clingy.
Which leads right into the detox. The strategy of disdain. That sounds strong.
It is strong. The idea is if you're chasing him, you're a game already won. So the detox is total contact zero, showing deliberate indifference or disdain. That, paradoxically, increases your value and makes you more of a challenge.
Which appeals to the male ego.
Directly. The guide even says the best revenge is simply forgetfulness. And if he does call after the detox period, the advice is tactical. Be sweet with words and implacable with attitudes. Polite, but utterly detached. Unmoved.
But wait, if you've done all that inner work, built this authentic value, why do you then need to play these external games, the push-pull stuff?
And that is the absolute core tension of this whole approach, isn't it? It suggests that while your value needs to be real and internal, the way you secure a relationship, especially in this disposable dating market, is by strategically playing on the other person's ego, their need for a challenge.
So if he's not fighting for you, he won't value you. Is that the message?
That seems to be the underlying assumption, yeah. You have to make him feel the need to win you.
Okay, let's talk about the specific tactics. The iscas, or baits. I liked the mango strategy analogy.
It's a simple but effective image, right? One girl waits under the tree for mangoes to fall. The other brings a ladder and picks the best ones. Seduction here means being proactive, breaking predictable patterns.
Like the Iscagram bait, not just liking his photo.
Right, no generic hearts. Instead, find a totally normal photo, him, cooking, maybe, and drop a comment that's witty, a bit challenging, unexpected, like the example, Inverosos dirán que Photoshop. Haters will say it's Photoshop.
Who's glow there?
To trigger his playful, maybe slightly infantile side, as the guide puts it, to speak the masculine dialect of teasing and banter, it creates an instant non-needy connection that stands out.
And then there's the most psychologically intense one, the duality technique, the push and pull.
Oh yeah, this one is pure ego manipulation. You give a strong pull, show interest, then immediately follow with a push, introduce doubt. The example given is classic. You're interesting. That's the pull. But I don't know if you're mature enough for us to have something serious. That's the push.
Oof. What does that do to him?
According to the guide, the male ego can't stand that unresolved tension, that paradox. He becomes compelled, almost obsessed, with proving you wrong, proving he is mature enough.
So he invests energy trying to solve the puzzle you created.
Exactly. He ends up chasing validation, trying to prove himself to you, which binds him to the pursuit without you having to give much away. Very strategic.
Okay, shifting gears slightly, the guide also touches on the physical side, saying this mastery needs to extend everywhere, even intimacy, to maintain that indispensable diamond image. It brings up some sexual health data here.
It does, and it's pretty eye-opening. It uses data to highlight the female orgasm gap. Cites figures like 62.9% of women usually orgasm during sex compared to 85.1% of men.
That's a big gap.
Huge. And it notes the gap shrinks dramatically for lesbian couples.
Leading to the conclusion that
For heterosexual couples, the problem is often overvaluing penetration alone. It argues clitoral stimulation is crucial, and relying only on intercourse ignores basic female anatomy. So knowledge here is key for her pleasure, which then boosts her confidence and perceived value.
And it gets specific, mentioning the sentada da desa, the goddess sit.
Yeah, it offers specific techniques.
Yes.
The focus is on control and varied movement, like alternating standard up and down with a forward-back motion, specifically for clitoral stimulation. It even suggests using hard surfaces or certain shoes for stability.
Always about mastery and competence.
Even in the bedroom, yes. It all feeds back into that image of being exceptional.
All right, let's bring the strategy home. What about dealing with an ex? Or just handling loss? There's the vagaloom strategy for this, the firefly.
Yes, and this one feels quite different from the aggressive tactics we just discussed. When it comes to an ex, the advice is, don't be the Ansa, the jaguar pacing, agitated, seeking revenge.
Be the firefly.
Be the firefly. Just shine. Don't pursue. Attract.
How does that work in practice?
It argues the absolute best strategy, whether for revenge, getting them back, or just moving on healthily, is to genuinely focus on your own happiness. To brillar de verdad, as it says. Shine genuinely. Your success and contentment become your leverage, your attraction.
So let's try to wrap our heads around this. We have a guide that pushes for really deep, authentic inner work. Self-love, forgiveness, letting go of control, becoming this internal diamond. But then
it immediately packages that with these highly strategic, external ego-targeting tactics.
Yeah.
Manipulation, conquest, creating scarcity. It's a fundamental clash.
It really is. It's like build real value within yourself.
So you can more effectively exploit the weaknesses, the ego needs of others, particularly men, according to this source. Self-improvement becomes ammunition for the game.
Which leaves you wondering about desire itself. I mean, if these games, the push-pull, the scarcity, the disdain, if they actually work, if that's what makes someone obsessively desire you, does that kind of prove the guide's cynical point?
That's the big uncomfortable question, isn't it? Does it suggest that maybe in this current dating landscape, most people are primarily driven by fragile egos, by the thrill of the chase, by perceived scarcity, maybe more than by genuine connection or that inner firefly glow?
Or is this whole strategic approach just another symptom of the very societal competition and disposable mindset that the guide itself warns against?
Exactly. Is it a path to real connection or just a very effective manual for winning a game that maybe shouldn't be played? That's probably something for you, the listener, to mull over. Which approach does the person you're interested in actually respond to, the strategy or the shine?